Oh, that's a really good point. All right, I think we're ready to start now. Did you get a commercial? That's so horrible. What kind of sleazy jerk would give you a commercial? Like, you're all excited to come look at a live stream and stuff, and then there's a commercial? That's just horrible. What a turd. It's almost like somebody has bills to pay or something. Those jerks. They should just, like, live on the streets, you know? I mean, why would they torture people like that? Yeah. Well, anyway, I would just file a complaint with that committee. You know, they'll take care of it. Brock Figure says, Luke, do you sleep with your socks on or off? On. I always sleep. I won't say always sleep with my socks on, but almost always. Sometimes in the summer when it's really warm, I'll take them off. But I would say that spring. Like fall, winter, and spring, I definitely have my socks on when I'm in bed, when I sleep, for sure. In fact, I wear my socks around the house all the time. Unless it's like summer. Then I might go barefoot in the house. But, geez. I don't know. I'll have to pay attention this summer. I don't remember now if I take them on or off in the summer. Yeah. Nice, soft, cold bed sheet definitely deserves some no sock action. What? That's crazy. Oh, my feet would be cold. I gotta have the socks on, man. Lane Hart, what's up, dude? How you doing, man? Subcycle, hello, dude. GM Assistant says, I need to know if backer kits are still safe. Nothing is safe. The world is burning. It's gonna be horrible. Copper says Kickstarters are a dime a dozen now. It's hard to tell what's good and what's garbage. Everyone has their own thing. Yeah, that's part of the problem with Kickstarters and crowdfunding in general. We could talk more about that. I don't know that that's necessarily part of my main thing I want to talk about, but there's definitely something to be said about that and other problems that come with Kickstarters in general. So, Trinda, hello, how you doing? All right, you guys ready to rock and roll? Let me get a nice sip here. Oh baby, it's good. What do I have? Oh, I don't know. I have orange. I think I have orange tea. What is this called? Orange and spice. Orange and spice tea. All right, let's rock and roll. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are rocking and rolling now. I'm gonna start the live stream. So tonight we're gonna be talking about. Well, I have a few different things I want to talk about. These are my notes right here. I want to talk about the D&D Kickstarter scene and stuff like that. Bob Worldbuilder recently did a video about D&D Kickstarters, revenue going up, revenue going down, all that kind of stuff. You can check out his video, actually. There's a link in the description to his video. I'm going to be giving my Luke 1-minute summary of that video, and then I'm going to give you some of my opinions and observations on the topic. But if you want a more in-depth analysis of D&D revenue from 2024 all the way up through 2014 to 2024, Bob did a deep dive on Kickstarter revenue for D&D and TTRPGs in general, all of those years, and gave a really detailed breakdown in it. So if you want the full scoop, I would check out Bob's video. I'm gonna give, like I said, I'm gonna give you the 1-minute summary of these are the bullet points, because I need to make those points to then talk about what I think about the whole thing, you know. And I'm not gonna spend too long giving you the bullets, because that's what bullets are for. So anyway, go check out Bob's video if you want the full scoop. I'm just gonna give you that, and then I'll give you my thoughts on it. So, and then I have a couple stories I want to tell you, a couple stories from my game, and then I had another topic I want to talk about. I'm gonna rant about something probably during the live stream. So, and then I'll answer people's questions as they come up and stuff like that too. I have some questions. I have a spreadsheet or a form that people can submit questions to, and I was looking at that earlier today, and there were a couple good ones in there. So I'm gonna try to hit those, but that's a lot of ground to cover in a live stream. So I'm gonna do the best I can. Now, we do have a giveaway going on today. So there's a link in the chat. Hopefully, is the bot working? The bot is working. Oh, and the giveaway link is right there. So click the link. It's a free giveaway. You get free crap if you win. You've nothing to lose. Nobody's stealing your personal identifiable information. Nobody's taking your emails. Nobody's gonna like remarket to you or anything. It's literally just a giveaway that I do in all of my live streams because I just like to give people free books to help them in their games. So go do that if you want. If you don't, if you think that somebody's gonna steal you and send you spammy emails, then that's fine. You don't have to, but it's free. I do it in all my live streams. Yeah, this was a long time ago, but I once had somebody like worrying that I was trying to steal their email address or something. It's like, guys, I don't need to steal your email addresses. I mean, people buy stuff from my store all the time and give me permission to use their emails. So it's like, I don't need to steal like a couple people's emails. I get nothing out of it. And it's illegal too, to like take people's emails without their permission and then use it in email marketing. So that's another reason I don't do that. But I digress. Go join the giveaway. It's a long spiel to like try to convince you to join the giveaway. And I don't even care if you join or not, because the fewer people that join, the more chance those that do join win the thing. So I should actually not be I would actually be helping people win by not trying to convince people to sign up for us. I don't even know why I'm having this conversation with you. I need a drink. This is totally tea. I'm exasperating myself and we've barely begun. Okay, besides the giveaway going on tonight, oh yes, let me regale you with the story of our upcoming Kickstarter. You can hear tokens and stuff jostling around in there. Dungeon Drifters is launching in April. There's a link down in the description, the chat, the pinned comment, different places. Go check this out. This is it's an awesome game because like I helped design it. So like, of course you want to get it, but that's going to be launching. It's kind of like it's a board game. I would say that it's a dungeon delve board game. That's like the descriptive genre term. It's kind of D&D adjacent. You're gonna go into dungeons, you're gonna kill monsters, you're gonna take their stuff, you're gonna try to increase your power. It's competitive, so you're trying to beat your friends or your family members to gather the most loot, beat the crap out of the most monsters, get the most loot, and then escape the dungeon first. And you can also take control. You can dominate the monsters and have them fight on your side against your friends and family as well. It's rules light. It's designed to get up and playing really fast. So if you have like family members or casual gamer friends that you want to kind of introduce a dungeon delvey board game to, but you don't want something super heavy like Gloomhaven or Massive Darkness, something with like scenarios that take a long time to set up, or just rules that are really heavy. Like Dungeon Drifters, that's what we're trying to do with it, make it something cool and easy to learn, that people can kind of get into things without having big upfront costs of learning a game and stuff. Those games are awesome. I love those games. I play those games with my friends. But sometimes you just want something a little bit later. So anyway, Dungeon Drifters, it'll launch in April. Go check it out. You can follow the Kickstarter and do things. And we have a reservation thing too, where you can put down $1 reservation and you'll get a free mini. Sylvan Arachne when you put down $1. So if you click the links down in the description and crap, it'll like prompt you to give your email address, which is so we can notify you when it launches. We're assuming that if you're interested in the Kickstarter, you want us to tell you when it launches, so we will email you. And then also after you give us your email, it'll ask you if you want to put $1 down to get Sylvan Arachne. And then if you get that, you get a mini for free, basically, because that $1 reservation applies toward your Kickstarter pledge. So it's a free mini by just doing that crap. But link down below, all that kind of crap. There you go. Oh, $1 mini. You have no idea. Copper, there are 46 acrylic minis in the base box. 46 of them. And they're all full color, like a $1 mini. All right, so like here's one. This is a pile of hands. I have a box of them. There are more in here, but I just have a box of the minis too. Here's a massive mouths. This is the gloom sludge. I mean, there are 46 of these. Full color, front and back side. This one's my favorite. The goblin scavenger. or something. I forget what his name is, but there's 46 of these things. There's 46 of them. There's a whole bunch of these things. And, you know, they come off the stand, so you can store them in life. They lie flat and all that kind of good stuff. And then you put it back in the stand. It's beautiful. This is a whole entire box of these things. These are our prototypes. These are actually about twice the size of the actual mini, so that you're aware, because these are pretty decent sized, but they're twice as big as the real things will be. So, but anyway, yes, you're gonna get 46 of these, and the base game is gonna be $80 on Kickstarter. Is that what it's gonna be? I think it's $80, which means that you're going to get 46. If all you want are beautiful acrylic minis to use in your games, you could buy this thing and you're going to be getting minis for under $2 each. Like I literally have board games on my shelf over there that I've never played, that I literally bought them for the minis because it was like cheap to get the minis. So anyway, if you're interested in just getting the minis, you can do that as well. So for $80, I would have expected 47 minis. Well, I'll tell you what, if you put a $1 reservation down, you're gonna get Silk Von Arachne for free, which gives you 47 minis. You see, it's like I designed this project for you, Alan. Like I come on, man. This is gonna be our 5th Kickstarter, number 5. I know what I'm doing. Like I knew it was gonna. Yeah, I got you. I totally got you, dude. I got you, buddy. All right, you guys want to talk about our main topic here? All right, so as I mentioned, Bob the World Builder as 2 words or World Builder as 1 word, however you want to go it. He did a video this week, I believe, about Kickstarter revenue basically going up and then going down. And I want to talk about some of the revenue analysis that he did, some of the conclusions. Well, he drew one main conclusion from it, but I want to give you several different conclusions. I want to give you more my thoughts and my opinions on this, because I think that when you look at the numbers and you look at how Kickstarter revenue for D&D stuff and TTRPG stuff in general has been going, how it's been trending up generally, but then there have been some rocky stuff in recent years. I think we can draw some really good conclusions from this, and we can start to think about, first of all, what's happening with the revenue. Second of all, why the Kickstarter revenue is doing what it's doing over the years. And then third, we can draw some predictions about the future, about where Kickstarter revenue is heading, whether it's going to kind of keep going up, maybe flatline, maybe go down, and what's going to happen in future years. So that's kind of the outline of what we're going to talk about today. So first of all, I want to jump into the 1 minute summary of the revenue bullets that Bob brought up in his video. So he started off, D&D 5th edition was released in 2014, and in 2006, and there were like not that many things going on in Kickstarter, the Kickstarter world in those times. And then in 2016, Stranger Things came out, and the amount of money for D&D Kickstarters doubled. It doubled in 2016. And by 2018, D&D money revenue on Kickstarter continued to go up. And what you also noticed is the number of 5th edition compatible titles was also increasing in 2018. There's just a general trend of this happening. By 2019, the 5th edition titles earned more than non-5th edition titles. And that trend is just continuing to go. By 2020, one of my cats. Oh, my co-streamer. Got to get it squeaky up here. By 2020, the same money for 5th edition titles was being made as in 2019. So you had a little bit of a flat line, not a whole bunch of stuff happened. Now, I lost my train of thought here. This is my co-streamer interrupted me. In 2020, what we did notice too is that all titles, whether it was 5th edition D&D stuff or just TTRPG, we'll call it non-5th edition stuff, made about $12 million on Kickstarter. And there were about 50 titles. Half of them were for 5th edition, half of them were for non-5th edition. That was 2020. In 2021, all titles, 5th edition, non-5th edition, made $50 million. That is... Uh-oh, I think I got my dates wrong on my little cheat sheet here. Oh no, I wrote something wrong. So in 2021, all titles, D&D, non-D&D, made $50 million, which is 4 times as much as it made in the previous year in 2020. So there was a massive jump in 2020. A massive jump in 2021. Huge, massive jump. See, when I have to like rub this dude and keep him happy, it like interrupts my train of thought and makes this a little bit rougher, you know. But hey, if you can't have a cat on stream, you know, there's a whole segment of my viewership that wouldn't want to watch this stuff. Who literally comes to see Squeaky sit here most of the stream? I want to know. I bet it's a non insignificant portion, I bet you. Okay, now that was 2021, massive explosion, tons and tons of money being made. And then in 2024, COVID restrictions started loosening. Remember, we had this theory that part of the reason there was an explosion in TTRPGs was COVID. People staying inside, they couldn't get out, and so people started playing RPGs. And especially online TTRPGs were having an explosion. So when COVID restrictions started loosening, then we saw a decline, theoretically, right? And there was also a delay of the Stranger Things season 3 or 4 or something like that. And so what happened in 2022 then is that Kickstarter funding decreased. It went down to $33 million, which in the previous year was at $50 million. So that's a pretty big decline in year over year. Gotta give him a good rub. Give him a good rub here. All right, 2023. TTRPG Kickstarter 2023 TTRPG Kickstarters made $40 million. So we went back up again, but still not as high as our peak in 2021. So 2023, 40 million, there were 100 titles, and there were more D&D 5th edition titles than non-D&D 5th edition titles. There's a big dramatic pause for you. What also happened in 2023, if you recall, is we had the OGL scandal. Massive scandal, which caused people to not like Wizards of the Coast very much, if you recall. But also, one of the things that happened in 2022 is that there was due to the OGL scandal, there appeared to be a huge outpouring of support for Wizards of the Coast D&D 5th edition compatible Kickstarters. So if you were running a Kickstarter for D&D 5th edition or almost any other TTRPG, there was a huge amount of support for you because people were really against the big guy, Wizards of the Coast, because of what they were doing, and they were supporting smaller by relatively smaller. Some of them are pretty big, but others were just little guys. They were supporting all of these content creators on Kickstarter. And so that's one of the reasons why in 2023, we probably saw the big jump from 33 million the year before up to 40 million because of the OGL scandal. It was causing people to support other content creators and not D&D 5th edition, not Wizards of the Coast. Then 2024 comes along. Oh, I gotta move my notes. They were being obscured. And then 2024 comes along, and there is a large decrease in 5th edition titles. Massive decrease in 5th edition titles. 5th edition titles in 2024 made $15 million. Non-5th edition titles made $34 million. That is a huge discrepancy. We are now seeing that non-5th edition titles are increasing beyond the level of 5th edition titles. They're overtaking them by far and large, way overtaking them. Cat hair on my notes. We noticed, though, that there was an outlier. Brandon Sanderson had his Cosmere Kickstarter for $15 million, so there's a bit of an outlier with that. But when we take in all of the backer kit data, when we analyze the Kickstarter revenue plus the backer kit revenue, what we find is that when we take it all together, because right now previous to now, we've just been looking at Kickstarter revenue. But now if we take a look at backer kit revenue as well, because backer kit is a crowdfunder, lots of people run on there as well, and they make lots of money in the millions as well. I believe Matt Colville did his recent Draw Steel Kickstarter on backer kit, and did buku money on that sucker. So when we look at revenue from both crowdfunding platforms, what we notice is that non-D&D 5e Kickstarters crowdfunding projects earned 3 times as much as 5th edition projects. And so what we're seeing now is there was a huge spike in 5th edition projects, but now what we're seeing is 5th edition projects are kind of dying down. D&D 5th edition projects are just going down this way, whereas non-D&D projects are increasing by leaps and bounds. And so that's what we're currently seeing going on. And that is essentially my summary of Bob's analysis of all the revenue and stuff. You're waiting at your mailbox for Lairs and Legends 2? I wouldn't wait at your mailbox. It is cold out there. We're supposed to start fulfillment the beginning of next week for the US and Canada. So you won't have to wait too much longer, but I wouldn't wait by your mailbox, dude. Okay, so you're probably asking yourselves, why do we have a current decrease in D&D 5th edition products, and why is there an increase in non-D&D 5th edition products, TTRPG products? Well, the first reason is that we have a D&D 5th edition license problem right now. You may not have noticed this, but there is a new edition of D&D out. They're calling it D&D 2024, D&D 5th edition 2024. So the problem though is that we don't have a license for it in order to be able to create third-party content. Like, I could not right now publish a book that and claim that it's compatible with D&D 5th edition 2024. Like, I kind of can, but I can't like officially do it because there's no license for me to use. Like, the only license I have, I could use the OGL, I could use the SRD, I could use the Creative Commons, the D&D 5th edition that was put into the Creative Commons, but that was only the 2014 D&D 5th edition. The 2024 D&D 5th edition, I don't have licensing available for it. That has not been put into Creative Commons right now. And so I can't really publish a book for D&D 2024 because I don't have licensing available for it. And if I were to publish a book and say that it's compatible with D&D 2024, then I'd probably have to use the Creative Commons license and just be very careful not to use anything that's not in the Creative Commons license. And Squeaky's now trying to bite me. He's going into biting mode because I'm talking more than I'm petting him. And it's a limbo too. I think this is why you saw in 2024 there were very few companies relatively launching Kickstarters for D&D 5th edition because they knew 2 things. One, we don't have a license. It's a bad idea to promise to make a product when you don't have a license that legally allows you to publish it. That's probably a bad idea. And number 2, the rules hadn't been released yet. Can you imagine running a project in 2024 promising that you're going to make a D&D 5th edition 2024 compatible book that would be released and delivered to backers in 2025 when you didn't even have the rule set? That would be bonkers. How could you do that? You're basically telling backers, okay guys, give us money, we're gonna make a book that's compatible with 2024 D&D. I know we don't have the rules yet, but it's okay. We're going to figure it out for you. And then a year later, you're shipping them a book. There's not enough time in the publication life cycle for you to wait to get the rules and then write your book or update the things that need to be updated because of the rules. And so, in my opinion, it is bonkers to try to run a Kickstarter in 2024 that promises a D&D 5th edition 2024 compatible product that delivers this year. Bonkers. There's not enough time in the project development lifecycle, and you don't have the rule set, and you don't have licensing, and there's still no licensing available because they haven't put it in the Creative Commons yet. So I think that is a massive reason that you saw a huge decrease in 5th edition Kickstarters in 2024. No license, and we don't have the rules. Man, we don't have the rules. So it would be a very bad proposition, and you're really risking a lot and taking a big gamble, to do that sort of thing. So that's one of the big reasons I think we had a decrease in 2024. the next thing we saw is in 2024, we talked about how the revenue for non-D&D Kickstarters was going way up. And the reason that was happening in part two was that we had the OGL scandal, and that basically caused a whole bunch of people to be like, screw WotC, screw D&D, trying to like literally take away the license that lets us publish lets us publish content for this game. And so a whole bunch of people gave them the middle finger and said, we're making our own TTRPGs. You have Critical Role making Dragonheart. You have Matt Colville, MCDM, making Draw Steel. And then you have Dungeon Coach making DC-20, which is something that really annoys me too, by the way. I watch all these videos. This really, really annoys me. I watch all these videos where people analyze all of these TTRPGs that are getting kicked off, and they'll talk about Matt Colville's MCDM, they'll talk about Critical Role's Dragonheart or Daggerheart, and they'll talk about Cosmere and all this kind of stuff. And like, people don't mention Dungeon Coach's DC-20. His freaking Kickstarter did bonkers. It did crazy well, and there are tons of people that love what he's doing. And I played it, and it's awesome. And honestly, it kind of ticks me off a little bit that nobody seems to mention his Kickstarter that did so well, and so many people love that thing. So it's a minor annoyance every time I see a video that talks about all of these TTRPG Kickstarters that are kicking off, and they don't give Dungeon Coach any credit. So I'm just, every time I see one of those, I'm just like, oh man, you people, what's wrong with you? Anyway, side tangent. Dungeon Coach is my friend, of course, so I mean, I have to back him up a little bit because of that. But even if he weren't, I think it's still crazy that you don't hear him mentioned in all these videos. But anyway, we're gonna just set that aside for now. So lots of people were like giving the middle finger to WotC, making their own TTRPGs. Big people, lots of big people. They're all over the place, right? And so that's one of the reasons that the revenue for non-D&D Kickstarters went way up in 2024. Lots of people were doing that, okay? Also, quite frankly, the OGL debacle, the Pinkertons thing, and I think there was like an AI art scandal or something too. There was a whole slew of thing after thing after thing that was essentially causing people to not like Wizards of the Coast. And so that was most likely driving them away from supporting D&D 5th edition products and supporting indie TTRPGs like Draw Steel or DC-20 or Daggerheart. Well, Daggerheart actually wasn't kickstarted, but you get what I'm saying. You understand what I'm saying here. And so those are the reasons why I believe we can see these numbers doing what they're doing. Okay, so what does the future hold? That's the big question. Are TTRPG Kickstarters, the non-D&D ones, going to continue to just kind of go crazy? And are the D&D 5th edition ones going to continue to flounder? That's the question we want to know, because I don't know about you guys, but I make a lot of Kickstarters, and most of them, almost all of them, are for D&D 5th edition. This one right here, Dungeon Drifters, is... well, no, this will be my second Kickstarter that wasn't for D&D 5th edition, because The Secret Art of Game Mastery was genre neutral, system neutral, just for game masters in general. So this will be my second one that's non-D&D 5th edition. But there's lots of people that have traditionally made D&D 5th edition Kickstarters. And so are they going to go back to doing it? Or is it going to kind of continue what we've been seeing, where it kind of declines and then other TTRPGs continue to grow, and we see that on Kickstarter? So what I think is going to happen... yeah, you like that? What I think is going to happen is that in the beginning of 2025, right now, we're probably going to see a slump in Kickstarters for D&D 5th edition. And I think there are two reasons. The first reason is that people just got done buying, well, some people, not everybody obviously, but a lot of people just got done buying the D&D 5th edition 2024 books, the new edition. They just got done dropping, what was it? $120, $180. I don't remember what it was, but we just spent a bunch of money to get the core books. And people have money for their hobbies, but after you've spent about $200 on the core books, you're probably not going to be spending more money on your hobby for a little bit of time, for most people, let's say. And so I think that you're going to see them not buying or perhaps not supporting D&D 5th edition Kickstarters quite as much in the beginning of 2025. The other thing too is just that I don't think we still should not see a whole bunch of D&D 5th edition 2024 Kickstarters yet, because we still don't have licensing. We have no SRD, it's not in the Creative Commons yet, and so it's hard to promise to publish a book for a game system that you don't have a license to publish it for. It's a risky proposition, and you gotta be very careful about that. So you can do it, but you gotta be careful about it. It's easier when you have a license available. It's way easier for it. So I think that's what you're going to see in the beginning of 2025. But I think that as we go into the end of 2025 of this year, we're probably going to see things begin to take off again, and especially into 2026. Things are probably going to pick up as long as we have a license, as long as we get the rules into the Creative Commons. Now, Wizards has told us they're going to put the 2024 rules into the Creative Commons. They've told us that. It was supposed to come very shortly after the release of the Monster Manual. And the Monster Manual came out a month ago, something like that. So we really should anticipate the Creative Commons, or the new rules being put into Creative Commons very soon. But assuming they do that, which I'm fairly optimistic that they're probably doesn't. I'm pretty optimistic that they are going to put them in the Creative Commons. I don't think they're going to give people the shaft on that. But we will see, obviously. But assuming we get it in the Creative Commons or have a license available, and not a draconian license, it can't be a license where you sign away all of your rights to your work. Nobody's gonna go for that, right? But if we have a license in place, then people are going to start launching more D&D 5th edition Kickstarters toward the end of 2025. I'm pretty sure. And because people's finances will theoretically have recovered from dropping $200 on the core rulebooks, they'll probably be ready to back some more D&D 5th edition Kickstarters toward the end of 2025, and then going into 2026, of course. So that's going to be the trend we're probably going to see. However, I do have a feeling that content creators are going to continue to try new things. I have a feeling that we're still going to see new launches of TTRPGs, perhaps, or perhaps content creators who say, hey, Draw Steel has a large fan base. Assuming there's a license available, which I'm assuming that there either is or will be, and I don't know, so don't take my word for it. Correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. But somebody might just say, hey, I like Draw Steel. I could start creating content for Draw Steel. Or assuming there's a license for Daggerheart, I like that game system. I want to create content for Dragonheart. So we might start seeing Kickstarters come up that are creating adventures or monsters or something for Draw Steel or Daggerheart or DC-20 or Shadow Dark or things like that. And so I think that we're still going to see content creators probably making Kickstarters for other game systems. I feel like part of the reason is excitement around other game systems and really liking the other new cool stuff that's out there. But I think another part too is just that with the OGL scandal, especially if the new rule set doesn't go into the Creative Commons, 5th edition could be seen as a risk, right? It's an IP that you don't control. And if it doesn't go in the Creative Commons, and it could be, revoked at some point in time, like they tried to do with the OGL, there's a whole bunch of risk around it, right? To publish when you think they might take away your license. But as long as it goes in the Creative Commons, then I think it's a whole lot safer, and you won't see that. Another reason I think that you're probably still going to see a whole bunch of publishing for non-D&D content is that there's still a lot of distrust and dislike of Wizards of the Coast and D&D out there. I spent a decent amount of time on X, and there's lots of posts on there of people that just don't like D&D 5th edition. They don't like WotC, and you kind of can read between the lines, and it has a lot to do with some of the things the company has been doing, over the years. And so there's still that sentiment out there. So I think there's going to be lots of people that that are doing their own thing because they just don't want to have anything to do with WotC or D&D 5th edition too. So I think you're going to keep seeing that sort of thing. All right, so that's the future. That's how I think things are going to go. I'm pretty optimistic. I feel like D&D 5th edition stuff is going to start popping again, as long as we get a licensing available or it goes into the Creative Commons. But right now we have a slump, an understandable slump, but it'll get better. I'm sure it'll get better. So you let me know. What do you think? Chat, what do you think? Is it going to get better? They're like, we don't care. We're having too much fun playing other TTRPGs. Are you concerned about the TTRPG becoming flooded with fantasy games versus other genres? I don't really. I mean, I don't think I'm concerned. I would almost say that I'm indifferent, because if it becomes, I don't know, if there is a trend toward TTRPGs with fantasy, then the market will determine what happens. So if there is a flood of fantasy genre TTRPGs, if there's a glut of them and there's no market demand, then a lot of them will fail, and a lot of them will just go away and probably never be heard again. They'll probably have niche people that will play them, but mostly they'll just be forgotten. Like how many fantasy TTRPGs do we already have? There's a whole bunch of them, and people keep on making more. So and those Kickstarters are doing very well. Now, many times those Kickstarters are fueled and backed by a massive fan base, such as Critical Role or MCDM, right? Or a YouTuber or something. So many times those Kickstarters that do well for new TTRPGs do have an automatic following and backing, so to speak. But the market will correct itself. If there's too many fantasy TTRPGs, the market will correct itself. That's just the way it works. You know, it's like, do we worry about having too many companies that make toothpaste? No, because if there are too many companies that make toothpaste, then there's too much toothpaste on the market and people won't buy some of it, and some of those companies will go out of business and they just won't be there anymore. The market will reset itself. That's the way it works, and the way it should work. So I'm not too worried about that. And if there is a large appetite for non-fantasy genre TTRPGs like sci-fi, then I think that probably people will be asking for it, or there'll be some people that decide to make one and then the Kickstarter does really well, and then other companies see that there's business opportunity over here because there's a real big demand for sci-fi or something. So, and then they'll start making some. So again, the market corrects itself, you know. So I'm not too worried about that. Okay, so JC Dragon brings up a really good point. And before I talk about his point, we do have a giveaway going on tonight, so feel free to, it should be in the chat somewhere. Click the link, you can sign up. We're giving away $50 DM Lair store credit, so you can go over there and you can buy books for D&D 5th edition. We have Secret Art of Game Mastery, which is for any game system. Adventures, we have puzzle, we have a whole bunch of crap loads of stuff over there. So the winner of the giveaway tonight will get $50 DM Lair store credit. So click the link, join the giveaway, it's free. I'll draw the winner at the end of the stream. So that's the first thing, the giveaway going on. Now, also, I would be remiss if I did not mention at some point here, my own Kickstarter coming out in April. So about a month from now, Dungeon Drifters is going to be launching. It is a competitive dungeon delving game. You play with your friends, your family members. They could be casual players too. This is not like a hardcore game where we have a big rule book and lots of things you got to figure out and stuff. This is a very, people that are casual gamers, this would be a great fit for them. It's fast setup, easy rules. You start playing, you're basically delving into a dungeon, you're defeating enemies, and you're taking their loot, and you're trying to get the most loot and escape the dungeon first. So very basic concept, but pretty cool, pretty fun, and we have really good artwork for it. And you're gonna get 46 acrylic minis. I was showing these off earlier, but you're gonna get 46 of these. They're full color acrylic minis, front and back. This is Gloom Sludge. He's one of our minis, obviously. So 46 of those. And then there's obviously playing cards to go along with it. There's a whole bunch of dice that are gonna go in there as well to be able to play the game. And there are maps to actually, that are the dungeons that you play on. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in the content, or in the box. You know, this will be launching in April. So you can click a link down below and you can follow the project on Kickstarter, obviously, but also the link down in the description or in the pinned comment it'll lead you to a page where you can, you put in your email address, but the next page after that, you can put down a $1 reservation. And when you do that, you're going to get Silk Von Arachne, who is one of our minis, included with your Kickstarter pledge for free. And your $1 reservation counts towards your Kickstarter pledge, so it's actually free. So if you give a $1 reservation, you get a free mini, basically, is the way it works out. So the link is in the chat for that, or in the description and stuff, if you want to check that out. All right, there we go. Get those two plugs out of the way. Now we can talk about, whose comment was it? It was, whose comment? JC Dragon. Hold on, what was this? Magnus says, can confirm good stuff on the store. Recently bought Loot and Lore, and it's a great addition to my DM Tools collection. Thank you, dude. I appreciate that. So what was it? JC Dragon, what did you say? Where was your comment? Oh, JC Dragon says, crazy that I backed a campaign project on Kickstarter a few years ago, and it's just getting shipped now. And now 2014 5th edition is going away from Wizards of the Coast. All right, come on. Come on, get up here. I mean, this is honestly, this is one of the problems with Kickstarter. This is one of the problems with Kickstarter. This is one of the things that causes people to not want to back Kickstarters. And they might back a couple, but then they get shafted or they get burned. And then it causes them to distrust crowdfunding, because there's a couple problems that go on. The first thing is that the quality of a Kickstarter is hit or miss, right? Like the page might look good, but then the actual product you get might not be that good. It might not be what you expected it to be. Sometimes the pages, if you ever go to a Kickstarter page and the Kickstarter page looks bad, that's probably an indication of the product that you're gonna get. Not always, because publishing a book is different from creating a good Kickstarter page, which has a lot to do with marketing and graphic design. So they're not necessarily the same thing. So there have been Kickstarters that have kind of meh pages, but the actual books are good. That does exist. But sometimes you can judge a book by the cover to a certain extent. But anyway, people go on to Kickstarters, they back Kickstarters, and they get a product, and the product isn't that great, and that causes them to distrust Kickstarter in some cases. The other thing that happens that JC Dragon mentioned is that Kickstarters deliver late. They deliver late. Like, one of the besides delivering a quality product, one of the most important things for a Kickstarter is to deliver on time. On time or early. Super, super, super important. It's like not the most important thing. A quality product is the most important thing. But second to that is delivering on time. I was at the Gamma Expo last week, I believe, and Zach was there. Zach, who works for me, was there as well with me, and it was like a business trip for us. We were working. It was not fun. It was not fun. It was a work trip, man. It wasn't like going to a gaming convention, man. It was work. But anyway, I had a headache the whole time. I was like out of it. So he went to this seminar, where they were talking about, crowdfunding, and there was literally a person from Kickstarter at it, and one of the things that they said, one of the things that they underscored is how incredibly, this is someone from Kickstarter, how incredibly important it is to deliver your project on time. It is huge. It is huge, because if you don't deliver on time, what happens? Here's what you normally happen. Okay, so you probably have all backed Kickstarters, right? And then the content creator, they're like, oh, sorry guys, the project's gonna be delayed. And they give you reasons, right? There's always a reason. There has to be, right? It's not because they're just, I was on vacation. There's always a legitimate reason, why it's delayed. And where was I going with that? They'll always give you a reason why it's delayed. And then, oh yes, there's always people in the comments who are like, oh, it's okay, take your time. Oh, we just want you to make a wonderful project. It's fine, The thing is that no matter how many people that are okay with it being delayed because they just want you to make a great project, there's a lot of other people who are like, oh my gosh, another Kickstarter, it's gonna be late. How many Kickstarters are gonna be late? And how many Kickstarters am I gonna continue pledging to that are gonna be late? And there are people that just get tired of that crap and they get upset by it. And do you think if your Kickstarter delivers late, the backers are going to remember that? They're going to remember, oh yeah, you know, when Jim Bob did his Kickstarter, it delivered late. You know, especially if it's your first Kickstarter. If your first Kickstarter delivers late, well, there's probably a little bit of extra like grace because it's your first one, but it still tells you that the person doesn't know how to run a project. Like their project management skills are subpar, or they don't know the process very well of publishing and stuff like that, and they're still figuring things out. So, but it's their first one, so you could maybe give them some grace. But in the same hand, it's your first Kickstarter. That's your first impression. So your very first impression is you delivered late. That's not good. That's not a good first impression. It almost feels like if it were your 10th Kickstarter, if you had done 10 Kickstarters and all of them had delivered on time, but then your 11th Kickstarter was like 1 or 2 months late, then backers are like, whatever, that's an outlier, man. But when it's your first one or it's your second one or every single one of them delivers late, then backers start to feel like, dude, this guy's always late. He doesn't know what he's doing. Either he's overpromising us and he knows he can't do it and he's lying to us, or he doesn't know how to do project management and stuff. So like, anyway, the whole bunch of different things. But basically, when you deliver late, it doesn't help you. It doesn't help your future Kickstarters. And part of the thing about crowdfunding is that as you crowdfund, you're developing a customer base, right? And the idea is it's like a snowball rolling down a hill where like when you launch a new Kickstarter, previous backers will come and back that one. And so each Kickstarter might get a little bit bigger. Maybe, not always, but that's part of the hope, right? So that your past customers become future customers. And so you don't want to do things that tick off current customers because then they won't maybe become future customers. So anyway, Kickstarter people said that very, very super important that Kickstarters deliver on time. And so, yeah, it's just when JC Drago, when you said that, it just reminded me of that whole thing, you know, and how Kickstarters always, not always, but many of them deliver late. So I don't know if any of mine have delivered late. I'm not sure about Into the Fae. That was my first Kickstarter. I mean, some people in here have probably backed all of my projects. I think one of them might have delivered late. Maybe. I can't remember exactly. The one we're doing right now, Lairs and Legends 2, is literally delivering 2 months early, I think. Because we promised May 2025. And we're about to fulfill right now in March. So Simpatico says he thinks Into the Fae technically had a delay in shipping. It could have been. Yeah, I don't remember. I have a hard time remembering. That was a long time ago, and I don't know. I have a selective memory. And by selective, I mean I just don't remember anything. Unless I write it down and then review my notes. Starlight says, quite a few Kickstarters I backed ended up being a year or two late. That is bonkers. A year or two late. Wow. Mr. Rex's Sands of Doom or Hit Point Press's Fools of Gold setting book come to mind. Oh my gosh. It's just so crazy. That's so late. A year or two. Like, I'm used to, like, for me, it's like a month or two. It's like, well, a month or two, if your Kickstarter arrives a month or two late, that was a minor mistake, right? They made a minor mistake in project management, project planning, or they had a hiccup with something. They had a hiccup, you know. They had to find a different manufacturer. You know, I had a friend who did a Kickstarter, and he had a manufacturer lined up for the product, and then all of a sudden he started having trouble with that manufacturer, and the manufacturer was basically crapping the bed on him. And he had to find a new manufacturer, and it delayed his Kickstarter. But it's like, what are you gonna do? That's a major problem. You have a manufacturer problem, right? So I think there are some situations where it's like you literally can't do anything about it, and that could cause a small hiccup to a major hiccup. But when you have a project that's 1 to 2 years late, you either had a big hiccup. Like, I could probably actually a manufacturer problem, that might cause, now I don't know, if I had to get a new manufacturer, how many months would it take me to get set up with a new manufacturer? 2 to 3 months probably. I still don't think that would cause a year delay. I don't think it would, but I don't know. I've never had that problem before, so maybe it is a bigger problem than I know. And I've only done books up to this point in time, which aren't nearly as complex as like a board game. A board game has so many moving pieces and different things in it that can be a bigger problem. So, but yeah, I don't know. If you're a year or two late, that's almost, to me, I don't know, just, I feel like my gut tells me that, I'm sure there are exceptions to this, but I feel like if you're a year or two late, you're delving into the realm of extreme negligence, right? Or you don't plan on fulfilling. I have a Kickstarter right now that I backed, that I'm waiting on, and I will never see it. I made a video about it. I made a video talking about the honey problem. This was a video about a month ago, and I mentioned this Kickstarter that I backed, and I actually, they paid me to do a sponsored video on it too. And I told all of you guys, go back to this Kickstarter, and now it looks like they're never going to fulfill. And it's just horrible, you know, they'll never fulfill. So, it's horse crap. And I wanted the book too. It was like, I wanted it like a sci-fi TTRPG that's like kind of similar to 5th edition. Sounded really cool, but I'm never gonna get that book. And there's a lot of people that are gonna be upset by that. I mean, they have multiple Kickstarters that are open and unfulfilled with zero progress being made toward them. And like twice a year, there's an update that gets put out, and they're like, oh, here's a list of all the reasons and problems that we had in the previous 6 months and why you're not getting anything. So I don't know. They're gonna have to like run away to Antarctica because they're gonna have hordes of people chasing them down. Your pixel dice are 4 years late? Oh gosh, what are pixel dice? Holy crap. Mr. Gore, what's up, dude? Yeah, man. Dungeon Drifters, baby. Uh-oh, don't move it that way. I don't want to cut the name off. Greg PS says, I pledged in a big YouTuber named Kickstarter and it was years delayed. Negligence and poor management. I never click on any of the dude's videos and never will. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, and that's what I was talking about before, when you deliver late, and especially if it's crazy late, you lose trust, and people, I mean, in this case, don't want to watch his videos, you know, and you're for sure never going to pledge one of his Kickstarters again. So yeah. Yeah, when things are years late, you start to question things for sure. Yeah. I wish we could start branching out to other game styles than fantasy, sci-fi, cyberpunk, cosmic dark, World War I, supernatural, noir. We always act like fantasy is the only decent setting. Well, I mean, I think people probably like it, would be my guess. You know, like I like playing in fantasy. It's what I love doing. And so if you're like Luke, you have to try something else. It's like, why? I like it. Why do I have to? It's like, I love peanut butter and jelly, you guys. I love peanut butter and jelly. I put it on pancakes. I put it on bread. I can put peanut butter and jelly on, well, not almost anything. You have to have some reason here. But I love peanut butter and jelly. And if you were to be like, Luke, you eat too much peanut butter and jelly. I'd be like, well, you're probably right. You're probably right. But if you're like, Luke, you really got to stop eating that and try like something else, like Nutella or something. I'm going to be like, screw that, dude. Why? Like, I like peanut butter and jelly. Leave me alone. Let me like what I like. You know, if you want to try something else, you try something else. But like, these are my likes, you know, or my foibles, and just leave them alone. And I'll just continue in my happy path of bliss, eating peanut butter and jelly. And if there is something that you think is better, that's great. You think it's better, we'll play it. Have fun. But I'm eating my peanut butter and jelly, man. You go have your waffles or waffles and syrup or some horse crap. I don't care. So I just don't believe in like trying to, yes, you could say that there's a glut of fantasy TTRPGs, but who cares? Why does it matter? There's no reason that we don't have to like force people to play other things. It doesn't matter. You know, it's not like people are committing a crime or doing something horrible and destroying humanity, you know, killing babies or something. You know, nobody's doing that. And so there's no reason to force them to do something else. So the other stuff is out there. If people are interested, they can go play it. But a lot of people love fantasy. A lot of people love fantasy. You know? Yeah, peanut butter and jelly is so good. Oh my gosh. I actually don't eat it very often. I have peanut butter and jelly maybe twice a week, maybe. It's just not good for you. The peanut butter, I get organic peanut butter that literally just has, it's peanuts and sea salt. That's all it is. I don't really care about the organic crap. But the only way that I can basically find peanut butter that's only peanuts and only sea salt and doesn't have all the other garbage and sugar and hydrogenated cottonseed oil or whatever garbage they put in that stuff. The only way that I can basically find peanut butter that's clean is by getting organic peanut butter. Peanuts and sea salt. That's it. I just don't. If I'm gonna eat, and it tastes good too. Oh my gosh. If I'm gonna eat peanut butter, which is not particularly good for you, I'm at least gonna eat the version of peanut butter that isn't stuffed with American horse crap. You know, like I think it's like hydrogenated cottonseed oil or something, and they put sugar in it. Like, why are you putting this garbage into peanut butter? It's delicious when you literally just grind the peanuts up and put some salt in there. And then obviously jelly has got a bunch of sugar in it. I do get the jelly it's made from just cane sugar, so I don't get another thing that wants to kill everybody in America. You know, what is that, the type of sugar? The sugar that's made from corn, high fructose corn syrup. Yeah, that's killing people. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I don't get the jelly that's made from high fructose corn syrup. Good grief. There's so many foods in America that they're like it's like they're made to just kill people, you know? Anyway, we probably should stop talking about this. People are gonna get upset. All right. I just ran out of my tea. The tea's gone. Marmite? What is Marmite? Does the US have the dreaded Marmite? What the heck is Marmite? Oh, good gravy. Nerdy Davros says, with more people trying out other TTRPGs, do you think there is more of a preference for rules light these days? I don't know. I kind of prefer rules light games these days. My favorite game right now that I'm running is Shadow Dark. I have a Shadow Dark campaign that I'm running. And I'm very much not liking. I am running one rules heavy game right now that it's not. I don't like the game system anymore. I'd rather just change to something else. But my players all like it and they're invested in the book, so it's like whatever. It's very easy to game master that system, so I don't mind it. But it would suck to be a player. Yeah, but what was the question? What was the question? Do you think there's a preference for rules light? I just don't know. I mean, I could probably do a poll or something, but my audience probably skews one way more than the other, would be my guess. But I don't know if there's a preference for that or not. Oh, the cereal companies. Alan, you're so right. Cereal companies are so evil. It's literally like cereal is just packed with sugar. Check this out, you guys. This I find this to be hilarious. So every Monday morning, I volunteer at a homeless shelter. Okay, I help serve breakfast at a homeless shelter every Monday. And the homeless shelter is almost 100% dependent on donations. So everything in there that's on the breakfast line is a donation. A lot of it comes from Starbucks, Kroger, and companies like that. And a lot of times these guys will come in the line, right? And most of the things that are on the breakfast line are muffins or donuts or like those French toast sticks or basically high sugar bread items. That's the majority of the donations, high sugar bread items, okay? And so what's very interesting, and I find this to be just boggling, is that sometimes, people will come to the line and they'll complain about, just all this stuff is tons of sugar, you know, and they can't eat it because it's just all sugar, bread, sugar. And they're right. It is a bunch of sugar and bread. They're 100% right. But then directly after they make a comment like that, where do they go? Over to the cereal, and they get a bowl or two of cereal. And I'm just like, what are you doing? There's probably just as much, if not more, sugar in that bowl of cereal you just poured as all of these bread items you just walked by. There's no difference. Cereal is horrible for you. So I find it to be incredibly ironic every time that happens, you know. Really, you just got to drink the milk. Like everything on that breakfast line has just got tons of sugar in it. So if you just drank like half a gallon of milk, that's probably your best bet to avoid all the sugar, because everything on there is just stuff full of sugar. So, but anyway, I run. By the way, when I'm volunteering at the homeless shelter, I'm usually in charge of the bread and then peanut butter and jelly and margarine. So like I have bread here, and then when somebody wants some bread, I give them some bread. But then there's little tiny plastic cups, little tiny cups that I have to keep filled with three things: peanut butter, jelly, and then margarine or butter, whatever they have. Usually it's margarine. It's like a spreadable margarine. And I keep those cups filled. And so I'm sitting there like just putting peanut butter in there, putting peanut butter and jelly. And like, you know that I'm thinking, oh, this would be so good. Oh. And then the other thing too is that like when breakfast is over, I have to throw away anything that's in the cups. You can't like, put them back in the container or something. So I have to throw them away. And so there are some mornings when I put too many little cups of peanut butter and jelly out and I have to throw it away. And I think there's part of me that just dies when I have to throw away peanut butter and jelly, but I'm not gonna be like, it'd be like, I'm eating this. That would feel weird. But yeah, margarine is really bad for you too. It's craptacular. In a bad way, I guess. I'm out of tea. Bland Rice Krispie cereal, even Rice Krispies, even those things like what do you call it? Rice Krispie cereal. What's the circular one? The really popular circular cereal. I'm thinking Oreos, but that's not a type of cereal. It's Cheerios. It doesn't matter. Even if you think it doesn't have a lot of sugar in it, it does. It has a ton of sugar in it. They all do. It's crazy. Everybody's like Cheerios. Yeah, I don't eat cereal. We have not bought cereal. No, I was gonna say we haven't bought cereal for years and years. But I did literally buy a bag of cereal for my wife, probably about a year ago. She wanted like some whole brand organic cereal or something, and there was almost no sugar in it. And it was pretty good too, because she wasn't eating a whole lot of it, so I had to take over. Oh, my stream just died. And I'm back. Oh, that's why it died. Well, that makes sense. Okay. Anyway, but now we don't have any cereal. I don't buy cereal. Usually what I have for breakfast is I have Greek yogurt, plain Greek yogurt, because if you get any sort of flavored Greek yogurt, they put sugar in it. So I get plain, non-flavored, non-fat Greek yogurt, and then I put some protein powder in there. And here's the other thing too. I pay twice as much for protein powder to get protein powder that is low in sugar and has cane sugar in it, and doesn't have like horrible sugar in it. And so I get a special protein powder that's really expensive to try to reduce the amount of sugar. Like if you pay attention to it, guys, if you pay attention to the amount of sugar they put in all the different foods, it is insane. It's insane how much sugar is like in everything we eat. It's really crazy. It's really crazy. So, okay, we should probably stop talking about that. I need to get more tea. Too busy working to really get too deep into that stuff. Go check out Dungeon Drifters. There's a link in the description. One of our moderators will throw a chat to it as well. This is the board game that we're launching on Kickstarter in about 2 months. It'll launch in April. So this is super, super cool. I envision it's like a dungeon crawler. It's D&D adjacent in a way. Basically, you pick a character, you dive into dungeons, you defeat monsters, you gather all their loot, and you try to be the first to escape the dungeon with the most loot, essentially. It's a competitive game that you can play with your friends, casual gamers, family members that maybe aren't super into like heavy rules and complex setups and stuff like that. Just a little quick, well, it's not a quick game. It usually takes about an hour and a half or so maybe for a game. But the point is that you can get in playing super fast. And we have crazy artwork for it as well. Like I have a whole bunch of, you're in the way. You're in the way. These are like some of our prototype acrylic standees that we have for it, full color artwork. These are prototypes. These are about twice as big as they're actually going to be, but we needed to get some prototypes so that we could take photos and crap like that for like marketing and stuff. So, but the artwork is stinking amazing in these things. So anyway, there's a link down in the description. You just click it. It'll take you to a page where you can learn more about the game. You can sign up to be notified when we go live. You can follow the Kickstarter page. And if you put down a $1 reservation, when you back so you put down a $1 reservation before we launch, like you could do that like right now. And then when we do launch the project and you back, you're going to get a free miniature, Slick Von Arachne and his loot drop included with your pledge when you back. So you put down the $1 reservation now, today, or whenever, anytime before we launch in April, and you're fine. And then you're gonna get that free mini. And that $1 reservation goes toward your pledge as well. So it's literally just like, put this money now, it counts toward later, you get a free mini, it's like score. Yeah, JC Dragon made a good point. Because people see peanut butter oil separate and get grossed out and throw it out, when you just need to stir it back in. So they add all that stuff to keep it from separating and easier to spread. Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, like when I buy my organic peanut butter, it's literally, the peanut butter is separated from the bottom and the oil's on top. So what we do is we turn it upside down in the cupboard. And then by the time the other one is run out, because I always buy more before I run out, of course, by the time the other one runs out, it's kind of mixed a little bit and it's not quite as like stuck separate. But then, yeah, you got to stir it up. But then what you do is after you stir it up nice and good, you put it in the refrigerator because that hardens it up a little bit, and then it won't separate anymore. It'll stay stirred up mostly. It's a little bit harder to spread that way, but dude, that's life, man. We did have a question here. What dice mechanic do you prefer? A D20, a D6, D percentage? And do you prefer to roll over a target number or roll under mechanics? Come on. Come on. Get up here. You big baby. My cat's being a moron. Are you coming up here or not? Everybody's waiting for you, you moron. Jeez. I don't know that I really care about the dice, whether it's a D20 or a D6 or percentile. It doesn't matter to me. As far as roll under or roll over, I still don't care. It doesn't matter to me. It's a game. What the mechanics are, it doesn't matter. And I like Call of Cthulhu a lot. And they have percentile based roll under mechanic, and I like it. I think it is very well implemented, and I think it's pretty cool. Now I was talking to my friend Alan, Dungeon Coach, and I was telling him about, we were talking about something about game design or something, and the whole idea of percentile based and mostly roll under came up, and he hates the idea of roll under. I think we were talking about DC 20. And it's class based, but I was telling him that I really like the idea of a classless TTRPG where you don't have a predetermined class and you're just a character, and then you can learn different skills and feats and you can customize what you actually become. And I was telling him that I really like that idea. I think that's really cool. It's kind of like Elder Scrolls type stuff, and different but similar idea. And he was telling me that yeah, he kind of likes that idea too. And he said he was probably going to have optional rules in DC 20 where you could run the game in a classless system if you wanted to. So we were kind of like, yeah, that sounds great. But then I mentioned something about percentile based roll under, and he was like, roll under sucks. He did not like the idea of roll under mechanics. So and that's fair. You don't have to. But it was very interesting, people have very strong opinions on some of these things, whereas I kind of tend to just be like, That doesn't matter to me. It's a game. It's a different game. Games are played differently. Some games have weird funny dice. Other games don't, you know. So I guess it doesn't matter a whole lot what kind of dice or whether it's roll under or roll over. Doesn't really matter to me personally. I don't have a horse in the game. Companion, yeah, you're always waiting for more squeaky. Yeah, Companion Quest is the name of the Kickstarter. Companion Quest. Let's look that up. Just curious. Oh, yep. Interesting. Okay. I'm not gonna say anything. Well, didn't Dungeon Coach just release? No, he just announced that he's releasing 0.9 for DC 20. Yeah, it's coming out soon. He gave a date. I kind of glanced through his last update, but I don't remember. I appreciate your sagacious opinion. What does sagacious mean? Am I being insulted and I don't know it? Sagacious. Sagacious. Having or showing keen mental discernment and good judgment. Shrewd. Oh, nice. I mean, I like the word shrewd. I like being called shrewd. That's a good thing to be. Shrewdness, man. I like that crap. I don't even know what Stargate is. Oh no, I wasn't saying that you were trying to shill for the game. I just pulled it up and looked at it, and then decided I didn't want to say anything. All right, so let's move on to another topic, shall we? That was this topic. We beat that topic up. I gotta put this somewhere. Put the piece of paper down, Luke. You have a big desk. It can go anywhere. It can go anywhere. All right. I want to tell you guys the story of a perfect puzzle. So recently, I design almost all of the adventures that I run in my games. I think I could safely say that I design all of the adventures. I don't think that I really run pre-published adventures. So I design all the adventures for my games. And I recently designed an adventure that had what I consider to be a very nice puzzle. Shall we say a perfect puzzle? So my players are in the dungeon, they go into this room, and they find a puzzle. There are some pillars, and then there are some little tiny pieces in the water. Puzzle pieces, shall we say. And each of these little things in the water has something, there's like a symbol on it. And then each of the pillars has something written on it. And they figure out, oh, I think there were 8 pillars, and they have 8 little puzzle pieces on the floor. And they're like, oh, we have to figure out which, and there was a place on the pillar where a piece would get inserted. And they're like, yay, a puzzle, let's solve the puzzle. All right, so they're piecing everything together, and they're looking at the symbols and looking at the writing, and they're putting the puzzle together, right? And they're beginning to figure it out. And they start putting the puzzle together. They put one in the first pillar, and I describe some smoke kind of beginning to flow out of that pillar. And they put a puzzle in another pillar, and some more mist, smoke is flowing out. Another pillar, and this smoke is slowly beginning to coalesce into something on one part of the room, one side of the room. And they continue to solve the puzzle. And they have like 6 pieces together, and it's a vague outline of a 4-legged creature on the far side of the room. Now, something that my players perhaps did not notice, or if they did, they didn't say anything, is that the puzzle was not particularly difficult. The puzzle was, I should say, intentionally rather easy, and was intended to be noticed to be rather easy. But if my players did notice that it was too easy, or easier than a puzzle should have any right of being, they didn't say anything, and they continued to put the puzzle together. So by the time they had 6 of the pillars completed, you had a vague 4-legged creature standing there out of smoke or mist. They put a 7th puzzle piece in, and the creature began to coalesce into, I told them it looked almost like a cow. Interesting, we're forming a cow. Okay, cool. I wonder what this is. Then they put the last puzzle piece in. And then I described this mist coalescing into not a cow, but a bull. And not just a bull of shadow or mist, but a real one. It solidifies and coalesces into a real bull. A massive one, a huge one, but not just any bull. A bull with steel plates for skin. A complete steel plated bull standing before them, and a little bit of gas pouring out of its nostrils. Greenish yellow gas pouring out of its nostrils. Some of my players at that point realized, uh-oh, this sounds familiar. I think we've heard of this thing before, or possibly even encountered this before. And that's when it breathed. Now, to be fair, we roll initiative at that point because it was stomping one of its front feet and acting aggressive. We rolled initiative, and I'm pretty sure I rolled very, very, very well. And it breathed this noxious gas over my players. And 3 of them, there were 6 players. No, there were 5 players. There were 5 players. 3 of them failed the saving throw and were turned to stone instantly. 3 of them stoned, 2 of them alive, crapping their pants. Holy crap, what have we done? Now, they did have an NPC along for the ride, a female warrior who charged in to fight this steel-plated bull, which I'm sure some of you can probably guess what it is by now. And the other 2 players are basically like, should we run or should we stay to fight? One of them decides they must stay and fight because we can't leave our companions behind, even though they're turned to stone. And the other one's like, okay, fine. And they stay and fight. And they're not doing too badly. They're cleaving into this bull, doing pretty decent damage to it. But then things are going south and it's goring them. It gores the NPC warrior and she goes down and she's dying on the ground. And then one of the other players drops to the ground and he's at 0 hit points and he's bleeding out. And at this time, the last player, a dwarf, decides, no, this is too rich. The dwarf grabs the player that just went down because the other 3 are all turned to stone. He grabs that player, throws him over his shoulder, and begins running out of the puzzle room. And of course, this steel-plated bull charges after them. And they're running through that level of the dungeon, right? This bull charging after him. The player with the player that was down that he was carrying was a goblin, so probably weighed about 30 pounds or so, which is one of the reasons the dwarf was able to carry him at basically full speed as he's running away from this bull, which the bull is not going at full speed because the corridors are narrow and it's a large creature, so it's having a harder time getting through the corridors. And so the dwarf was able to outpace the creature. And as he was going to flee to the 2nd level of the dungeon. They were on the 2nd level of the dungeon, and he was going to flee to the 1st level of the dungeon. They had made friends with some kobolds on that level of the dungeon, on the 2nd level. And so as the dwarf was going toward the stairs, he was going into the kobold territory. And so he yelled out to the kobolds, "Be careful of the bull. There's a bull coming. It's very dangerous." And then the dwarf, with the goblin dying over his shoulder, ran up the stairs. And as he got to the top of the stairs, he heard the kobolds screaming out, "Attack, attack, attack." They're trying to defend their territory. And then he hears screams of terror, screams of death from down below those stairs, echoing up toward him. And then he turns to the goblin, puts the goblin down, and then tries to stabilize the goblin. And he proceeds to fail on every single one of his stabilization checks. And the goblin dies. And then you have the lone survivor, the dwarf, standing there, dead goblin, 3 stoned players down below, kobold allies, friends that had almost assuredly just been slaughtered themselves and turned to stone. One guilt-ridden dwarf marches back to town. Yeah, that's the story. It was, for what it's worth, it was a Shadow Dark game. And it was tons of fun. My players loved the crap out of it. And they're all coming back for more. They've almost all of them that were in that little almost TPK came back. Well, they all came back for the next game session, and then almost all of them have now signed up for the campaign, the full campaign that I'm running, because that was just a one shot, and now they're all in on the campaign. So they loved it. They loved it. And this is the crazy thing, because I saw a comment from someone who talked about, like, you know, character death being this horrible thing, you know, and like losing a character after all this work, you know, makes you want to quit a game or something, you know. And yet the crazy thing is that my players in this Shadow Dark game, some of them have played Shadow Dark before, but many of them have come from D&D 5th edition. And the crazy thing is they get a kick out of the death toll. Like one of the players, the very first game session, his game session of Shadow Dark, he was nearly disappointed because nobody died. But then right at the end of the session, I think his character was a wizard, died. And he was so excited. He was just exuberant because, yeah, I died. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I think part of it is that, you know, Shadow Dark is supposed to be deadly. And part of it too is that it takes you like a couple minutes to create a character. And there's a website you can go to, Shadow Darklings, I believe, that literally you click a button and it will randomly generate a character that you can then, you know, export to a PDF or import it into Foundry, which is what we use. So it's character creation is super fast and super easy. And so if you lose a character, it's like, meh, I'll just make a new one. It's not that big of a deal. But the crazy thing is that my players loved the idea of death being a thing and having it happen. But that puzzle, by the way, if you haven't guessed it, the whole purpose of the puzzle, it was intended to be solved, right? It was intentionally easy because the idea is that if, you know, maybe they pay a little bit more attention, there would have been warning bells, been like, wait. Why is this puzzle too easy? Hold on, guys. But they continued on and solved the puzzle. So that was part of the puzzle, was realizing that you aren't supposed to solve the puzzle. It was a puzzle that was not intended to be solved. But for what it's worth, in the next game session, after they had some new characters, they went back down into the dungeon. They actually defeated and it was a Gorgon, if you haven't guessed that by now. They defeated the Gorgon, and the Gorgon was heavily injured and could not heal, and so they ended up defeating it pretty easily. And then they went back to the puzzle room, and sure enough, in the middle of the floor, there was a very nice piece of treasure for them. So they got a very nice reward for having defeated the Gorgon. But anyway, that was like the perfect puzzle. It's the thing where they were all excited that they're figuring it out, you know, like, woo, we know the answer, we're about to solve it. But they never stopped to think, should we solve it? Or should we just move on? There you go. My puzzle story for you. Hey, Agile Monk, thank you for gifting memberships, dude. I appreciate that, dude. Agile Monk, I'm not intentionally ignoring your chats. I just talk a lot, dude. I glance at the chat every so often, but it's not intentional, dude. You haven't done anything. Well, they actually were looking at a way to bring the characters back from the dead, and they found some recipes to different ways to at least prevent being turned to stone, but they didn't find a way to actually reverse the stonage. They may or may not figure that out eventually. But the new campaign is going to be in a different game world, so that's probably just going to rest right there. All right. Oh, you answered the date on Alan? Oh, cool. March 17th? Nice. He put a time on it. He's like March 17th, 11 a.m. Wow. One spell would have saved them. Stone to flesh. Yeah, if they had stone to flesh. Yeah. They could, that's something they could probably do. The interesting thing is that in Shadowdark, if you learn a spell, even if you're like the lowliest of wizards, if you find a high level spell and are able to learn it and put it in your spell book, you can cast it. Now you have to make a check, and the check is going to be kind of high. Like if you find a ninth, spells don't go up to 9th level. I think the spells go up to 5th or 6th level in Shadowdark. But if you find like a level 5 spell, you can put it in your spell book and you can try to cast it. Now the DC is going to be higher. It'll be a DC 15. It's a level 5, and you got to make that check. But Shadowdark does not limit you. Like rules as written does not limit you to the level of spell you can cast. As long as you can find it and learn it and get it in your spell book, you can cast it. So that's pretty cool. I actually didn't know that when I first started running the game, and I was just dropping scrolls of higher levels in the first dungeon, and one of the players was learning them, and he got access to a level 3 spell, I believe, that was fairly powerful. And at that point, I was like, "Uh-oh, Luke, you done screwed up." Fortunately or unfortunately, his character died. Not because I was engineering it, of course. That would be deplorable behavior. But he did end up dying, and so that problem kind of resolved itself. I didn't have to worry about it anymore. Oh, Carter, thank you so much. You are one of my favorite YouTubers. Love your videos. Thank you, dude. I appreciate that, man. Thanks for stopping by, dude. Wish seems like it should never be in the game. Wish isn't in Shadowdark that I'm aware of. I don't think it is. I think it's level 5 or level 6. Somebody knows. Is it level 5 or level 6 that Shadowdark goes up to? Some people prefer Lego D&D. I love Legos. You guys, as a grown adult who's over 40 years old, if you give me a box of Legos, I will play with them. I 100% guarantee you. I will make spaceships out of them, and I will have them attack each other and blow each other up and stuff. I 100% guarantee you. You give me a box of Legos, I will play with them. So one of the things I do, I volunteer at church to serve with the kids. Like I do kids ministry, and we have like different age ranges that you can go in for the classes and stuff. And a lot of times I'm with like the middle school age or so. But recently they've been putting me with like the first graders or second graders or third graders, and they have Legos, and the boys love Legos. So I will always go over there and like, make a little spaceship, and then fly it around and stuff. So that's what I always do, man, make my spaceship. Yeah, even if the Legos require a manual, you can still just like make something out of it and make whatever you want out of it, Wish is level 5 Shadowdark spell, I'm pretty sure. I don't have my book with you. Oh, it is, really? Oh, okay. That's cool. Yeah, I'm not I haven't like read up and memorized all the spells or anything. Like when I'm running a game system, I kind of operate on a need-to-know basis for certain things. Player abilities, spells, those are all kind of need to know basis. Like if it comes up in the game, I'll figure it out. But you don't have to know all that stuff when you're preparing the game and making your adventures, and so I tend not to worry about it. Do you have the D&D Lego set? No. I probably won't buy it either. Not if it's D&D licensed. I would get something else. I'd probably try to get like an off-brand Lego, because the Lego brand is super expensive, so I'd probably try to get one of the knockoffs too. I'm pretty sure you can get those. I'm pretty sure those exist. The lunar module? No, I'm not. I like Legos, but I don't know a whole lot about them. I just know that I had them. Oh, you were a children's pastor for years? Oh, that's cool. Yeah, the young kids get the cool toys. They do. You get Legos. The girls, like when I'm volunteering in those classes at church, the girls, they like to draw a lot. You're usually drawing. Some of them do coloring books, but mostly they tend to draw. They like drawing. And the boys usually like playing with Legos, or there's like a little mini pool table. They like that a lot. And they wrestle and stuff. The lunar module might be older than Luke. Might be. I'm like a little over 40. What's my favorite D&D playable race and why? Dwarf. I like dwarves. I'll tell you why I like dwarves. Because when I play a dwarf, I get to talk like this. I realize that it's probably not that great, but I do the best I can. Yeah, I like doing my stupid dwarf voice, my little dwarven accent. I don't know if it's like I'm trying to do something like Scottish or something. I don't know. It probably doesn't resemble it at all, but I just do my thing. So I like dwarves because I get to talk like that. And there's something about dwarves I just really like. They're short, stocky, beefy, you know, they got beards. They don't take gruff from anybody. I don't know. I just like dwarves. I think dwarves are cool. Dude, I was at Gamma Expo. I was talking to somebody who was from Ireland, and it was really interesting. It was really cool. He was pronouncing certain words in a way that I've never heard them pronounced before. And finally, I don't know if I asked him or if he said that he was from Ireland. But I never heard the way he was saying stuff before, and it was really cool. I'm not gonna try to say it because I probably screwed up horribly. I thought it was really cool though. I'd never heard it before, so it was pretty sweet. I imagine there are probably dialects though in the different parts, you know. So probably, I don't know, whatever. The fake Lego, yeah. If you were transported into the world of D&D, FF, WoW, etc., and or all fantasy games and had to make your perfect character as yourself, what would you choose? Race, class, multi-class, prestige, weapon, etc. I'd probably want to be a rogue, I think. Wait, I'd have to make my perfect character as myself? So wait, would I be replicating myself, or just like what I would like to be turned into? I don't know, man. I probably want to be a wizard because casting spells and having magic is really cool, and you can fly and stuff. That would be awesome. That'd be really cool. The accent is from Gaelic. Oh, for what? Irish or Scottish? I don't know, but it's cool. It's a cool accent. I like it. There's a reason I like playing dwarves, because I think that accent is amazing. I love that crap, man. Even though I'm sure I do it very badly. Okay. Let's move on to the next topic. I have a comment. Somebody left a comment on one of my videos, and we're going to take a look at it. You guys are going to like this. Okay. Here we go. Bro, I feel you. Last night, our GM threw a deadly encounter of goblins and a hobgoblin boss at us, and it was so dangerous. Round 1, the tree barbarian almost died. Eventually, he went down twice. I thought we were going to TPK. Another guy was asking, when are we going to retreat? I'm pretty sure the only reason we won was because the GM slipped some punches by having the hobgoblin spread his attacks out between 3 melee characters instead of focusing on one guy at a time. It was epic. And this comment came from, I think, a live stream or a video that I did. And the topic at the time was focusing fire. And the question is, as a game master, should you have your bad guys focus fire? And so before we answer that question though, I want to examine what I have noticed my players do all the time. So I might have 5 bad guys, and let's say that we have 5 players and they meet in combat. Can you guess what my players do? Do my players A, spread their attacks out across all of the enemies, B, try to kill one enemy at a time, focusing fire, because they know that an enemy with 1 hit point is just as dangerous as an enemy with 10 hit points as 100 hit points, or C, something else inexplicable or irrelevant to the conversation, I suppose. So do players focus fire, or do players spread their attacks out over the enemies? That's the question. Does anybody know the answer? Well, if you have smart players or tactically minded players, they will tend to focus fire because they know that the enemies are very dangerous until they're dead. Now, you're probably going to have players that'll spread their attacks out a little bit, but usually they're going to try to focus fire. That is the accepted thing. I don't know what your guys' players do, but my players almost always focus fire to a certain extent. Maybe not always on one enemy, but for sure on a couple of them. They're going to focus fire. So this is what players do. And for good reason, because it's smart. It's very, very smart. In a game where an enemy until they're dead is just as dangerous as an enemy that has like 1 hit point or 20,000 hit points, you're going to focus fire until they go down. This is what players do, right? Everybody's players probably do this to some extent or another because that's the smart thing to do. And Puppet Master brings up another excellent point. Magic users and healers should be targeted first. Absolutely 100%. Why would players, and my players do this all the time, but why would players target magic users and healers first? Because they're the most dangerous. Magic users have nasty spells that can screw you up. You gotta kill them first. Healers prevent their allies from dying. So stop the healers, holy crap. So yes, that's another thing players do. If there's a magic user or a healer, they're gonna try to take them down very fast as they can. This is what we see players do all the time. So then, back to the original question. How should a game master run the monsters? Should the bad guys focus fire? Or should the bad guys spread their attacks out across all of the players? Well, it depends. The answer, I think, depends on whether you are trying to run a game or just trying to roleplay the enemies with absolute fidelity to what they actually would do. If we're trying to roleplay, and it's generally referred to as a role-playing game. Sometimes some games call themselves the world's greatest role-playing game, which is probably a little bit of hubris there. But if you're trying to role-play the monsters, it would make total sense, would it not? That monsters would focus fire to a large extent, because player characters are just as dangerous at 1 hit point as they are at 100 hit points. And can we not also say that monsters would try to take down healers and magic users first, because healers and magic users are very dangerous? In other words, the very same thing that players do to monsters, does it not make sense if we're role-playing to high fidelity that monsters would do the same thing to players and try to take them down as fast as possible and focus fire? I think probably the answer is yes. That makes complete sense because it's reasonable and logical, and smart creatures would do this. But then we're talking about smart creatures, right? If it's a hobgoblin, very intelligent, and also hobgoblins are known for being very militaristic, very tactical, militaristic creatures. Hobgoblins would absolutely focus fire. Now, if you're talking about zombies that have no intelligence, yeah, sure, they're just gonna attack whatever's closest to get some food. But intelligent creatures that have no tactics and no combat are going to focus fire and try to take down healers and magic users first. Even something like an ogre. Ogres probably are pretty dumb. No, they are pretty dumb. But they know about smashing things. And ogres probably know that magic users that do fireballs are bad. So even when you go into creatures that aren't that intelligent, but they are combat type creatures and they're known for their warlike aggressive behavior, they're still going to know a few things about who to target in combat and optimal things to not die, which is to kill the other guys first. And so if you're role playing, it makes total sense to focus fire and take out healers and magic users first. The problem is, if you do that, it can result in an unenjoyable game experience. Because if you have 5 players and all the hobgoblins just say, oh, take out the wizard is going to be dead in 1 round. He's done. And then you have that player sitting out the rest of the combat, probably not doing a whole lot. Maybe making some saving throws. Oh, maybe the healer, maybe the cleric does like healing word or something and gets them back up. Oh, but then the hobgoblins are like, not gonna take that, healer. Now that we know you're a healer, they focus fire. The healer's done. Oh crap, now the healer's out. Well, shoot, now what are we gonna do? The healer's out, the wizard goes back down again because he tries to drop a fireball and the hobgoblins aren't having any of it. And then you have the melee characters and a ranger left, right? And then the hobgoblins start focusing fire again. And of course, they're not gonna focus. Everybody builds a tank. This is one of my pet peeves. I have players that build tanks that have like armor class of 22 or even higher. And they're like, I'm a tank, nothing can hit me, haha. And then they're surprised when the monsters don't try to hit them. But I'm a tank. I was designed so you can't hurt me. Exactly. And that's the very reason those monsters aren't trying to hurt you, because they know they can't. Instead, they're doing the smart thing. They're focusing on the ranger or the other character here that doesn't have very good armor class, because if they could ignore you and take out the other ones first, those other ones aren't doing damage. And then when you, as the tank, are the last ones standing, they can finally focus fire on you and try to get through your armor. And so, just a pet peeve of mine, I have players who make heavily armored characters and then they get kind of upset when monsters won't attack them. But if the monsters can't hit you, it makes sense that they're gonna stop trying and they're gonna go fight the other guys they can hit who are also doing damage to them. So, the problem though, of course, is that if monsters focus fire and monsters use some of these tactics that make complete sense in many cases, not all, depending on their intelligence, their knowledge of tactics, of course, but if they use these tactics that make complete sense in many cases, it results in an undesirable game for the players because they're being dropped, right? And then they can't, and it's like a death spiral, right? And then you have a tank who's like, I am built to be a tank, and nobody's attacking me. I am a sucky tank. So that is probably the best argument I can give you for not focusing fire, even though it completely makes sense to focus fire and monsters should focus fire, even though it results in possibly a less desirable game or undesirable game experience. But I don't know. What do you think? Like, is this a balance? Should the game master balance focusing fire and not focusing fire? Should they just say screw it and role play them? Should they just say, hey, it's a game? Should they ignore what the players do and don't replicate and do the exact same thing? Like, I don't know. I feel like this is kind of muddy water because on one hand, we want to role play, and on the other hand, we want to have a fun game. And sometimes, and I think this is an example of it, when the two are kind of conflicting. They're at odds with each other. So, I don't know. My thoughts. Oh, we have a giveaway going on right now, guys. We're about to draw the winner to the giveaway too. In about 15 minutes, we're gonna draw the winner to the giveaway. So there's a link in the chat. It's free to enter the giveaway, and the winner is going to get $50 DM Lair store credit. So go click the link, put your name and crap in, and you might win, and then be able to buy some cool books for your games. Yeah. I think it depends on the tone of the campaign and the style of monster, as well as fictional position and amount of monsters. Yeah, I agree. I think those are all good considerations for sure. And do your players expect it from you too, right? Where were we at here? Yeah, but if the players are going to throw a fit because they're being focus fired, then they're not mature enough to be playing a TTRPG. I disagree with that. I agree that they're not mature. I do agree that if a player is going to throw a fit about almost anything in a game, that they're not mature. I do agree with that. But to say they're not mature enough to be playing a TTRPG, I disagree with that. I've run TTRPGs for kids that are 12 years old. They're not mature. Am I just going to be like, nope, sorry, you're not mature yet. You're not playing the game. No, I'm not going to do that, right? So I would say that people need to be more mature and they should be able to handle these things. Like some people throw fits when their characters die, you know? They throw a temper tantrum like a child, you know? And that's not cool. So yeah, they need to be more mature. But to say that because you're not mature and you do these things that you should never play a TTRPG, I don't think that's a fair assessment though. Jason, that's a question you should ask the bards. The bards could give you an answer to that. Jimmy says, I generally disagree blanket statements. Yeah, I think blanket statements are usually problematic because there are almost always exceptions to the rule. That's very true. You smell pepperoni pizza being cooked in a wood fire oven as you pass through town. Rule versus temptation. Ooh, I mean, pizza's hard to turn down. Pizza's really hard to turn down. Max says, as a DM, I also tell a PC why there is focus fire. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that. Especially if you feel like they might think that you're unfairly targeting them for some reason. But I also don't think that the game master is obligated to explain why their enemies are role playing or doing certain things. Like players aren't obligated to tell us why their characters are doing certain things. And so I don't think game masters are obligated to do the same thing. I generally tend to explain my actions when I think that there's a possibility that they might think that I'm metagaming. Like for instance, if I focus fire on the cleric, right? It's usually after they've cast a healing spell. And then I'll start focusing fire and I'll just be like, oh yeah, all the guys are attacking the cleric now that they've seen you heal, they're all shooting you. I might make a quick comment like that, you know. And that's to avoid, usually I say that sort of thing to avoid metagaming. But I don't usually feel compelled to explain why my enemies are doing what they're doing. It's my prerogative to run them how I want, right? And in the same way that players can run their characters how they want, you know. But when there might be some suspicion that I'm doing something like bad as a game master, then I'll usually try to drop a little explanation. Usually, not always. Sometimes I don't care. Some actions are made just because they make sense. Focusing on a spellcaster or healer just makes sense and would happen in a real encounter. Absolutely, 100% agree. 100% agree. I had like, this was years ago, but there was a spellcaster in the game and my enemies would always focus fire on the spellcaster, you know, and he'd have to go hide, he'd have to turn invisible. Like greater invisibility was one of his favorite spells because my bad guys would always attack him, you know, and I think once one of the other players, not the player who was being focus fired, but one of the other players questioned it. And that was my response. I'm like, look it, He's a spellcaster. He's dangerous. He's doing crazy stuff. They're going to focus fire on him. And then one of the other players was like, well, I'm a warrior. I'm hitting things with my sword. And I'm just like, no. You don't understand. This is D&D 5th edition. Warriors, you're nothing. You got nothing. He's a spellcaster. Spellcasters are dangerous. He's got hypnotic pattern. You kidding me? He's got fireball. He's got Tasha's hideous laughter. He's got heat metal. No. You're a fighter. Go sit down. He's a spellcaster. And besides which, you're in heavy armor and he's wearing nothing. Of course I'm gonna take out the spellcaster. Sit down. So yeah, that was years ago. they took umbrage to that. Well, if the healer's out of range behind the group, then they can't heal. So that's a catch-22. Good gravy. I don't know. You guys are talking about stuff in chat that I dare not talk about on stream. Fratter Seeker says you're not responsible for making sure the players have a good time. I agree. It is not the game master's job to ensure that players have fun. In fact, I would say that it is impossible for you to ensure that your players have fun. What you can do, the very best that you can do, is that you can create an environment where fun is possible. That's the very best you can do. You can be prepared, you can create your adventure, you can run the game to the best of your abilities. You can try to be a peacemaker, a mediator when players are having some difficulties with each other or something. You can do the very best you can, but the very best you can do is create an environment where fun may be had, but you can't guarantee fun. You can't. In my games, most of the time the players have fun, but I guarantee you there are some games where either it's a game where some players didn't have fun, or there is a player who just doesn't like the way that I run games, and that's fair, and he's not going to have fun because he wants to do something different. Usually I feel like generally speaking, the types of players that are not going to have fun in my games are probably the ones that are really concerned with getting lots of power, or the ones that want to break the game with like spells or different combinations, like things that are legal, that are in the rules that you can legally do, but that if you do it, I'm gonna say no, it doesn't work, you can't do that, and then they won't like that and they'll be upset because it's, I'm going against the rule or something. But yeah, so I feel like those are probably the two situations where you're probably not gonna have fun in my games. If you want crazy overwhelming power, like runaway power, I don't mind players just generally being powerful, because I'll just adjust my encounters and my enemies and it's even Steven. Who cares? Big deal, right? But the problem is that when you have everybody else is kind of following the raw, rules as written, and then you have one player who's just trying to do everything to get more powerful, and then especially if they're trying to break the game usually with spells, but there are other ways to break the game, obviously. That's when you have a problem. Like if everybody is just like powerful, not a big deal. But when you have one player who's just trying to do crazy stuff, that's when you have a disparity, and that creates problems, right? So that type of player he's going to get told no a lot in my games. It'll be no. If you're trying to reach for power, more power than in the core rules is available, then you're probably not going to like my games, or you're just going to have to be accustomed to being told no a lot, right? Like for instance, Shadow Dark. Shadow Dark is not a high power game, and death is pretty common. Characters aren't super powerful in Shadow Dark, and monsters can be really nasty. And so if you're trying to like stretch for more power that's outside the rules in a game system like Shadow Dark, it's not going to work very well. I'm just going to tell you no a lot, and you might not like that, but that's okay. I'm out of tea again. I ran out of tea. Uh-oh, I lost my chat. Yeah, see, Jason, if you think the most fun about D&D is breaking the game and abusing the rules, then you will not have fun in my games. You will bounce right off my games, because that's not how I run my games. I will shut that crap down very fast, and you'll be upset and you'll leave. That's the way that'll work. Yeah, I don't like having guns in my D&D games. I don't like it. Hey, Copper, you bet, buddy. You're not leaving, are you? Why are you leaving? Hey, let's draw the winner to our giveaway, huh? You can't leave before the stream's over. You owe me 4 more minutes, dude. 4 more minutes, man. You come to every live stream. You can't leave early, man. You have a reputation to maintain. All right, I'm drawing the winner to the giveaway, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Okay, cool. So you better not go anywhere, buddy. Okay. And the winner is Adam from California. Adam from California. And I am aware there's probably lots of Adams in California. But the Adam from California that gets an email from me, probably tomorrow morning sometime, is the winner. And I'm going to hook you up with $50 DM Lair store credit. And we'll get you all squared away. Don't forget, guys, check out Dungeon Drifters. There's a link down below. This Kickstarter is going to be launching in April. It is a competitive dungeon delving game. Super cool, super fun. You're going to get 46 full color acrylic minis, playing cards, obviously, with full color artwork, lots of dice. It's super cool. It's rules light. You start playing fast. It's the perfect game for like casual friends or family that you want to introduce to like a D&D adjacent board game. Super cool. So go check it out. Link below. And yeah, I think we're all set for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I technically have 2 more minutes, but I can just sit here and stare at you for 2 minutes. But it's 47. Yes, Alan, good point. It's 47 full color acrylic minis if you sign up early. Yes, that is very true. Very true. All right, guys, I'm done. I'm leaving 2 minutes early. I should be like reprimanded. Somebody's got to like give me a spanking. Okay, that got weird very fast. We're done.